Thank you very much. I was listening to this talk and thinking, how are we going to follow this? I can't see the connection, but now I can because of the last comment you made. You know, I'm not an evolutionary anthropologist, but I think my colleagues would say we are in some ways a product of human technology because there's so much research about the ways in which human evolution is intertwined with tool use. So we are kind of, in part, self-made and prosthetic in that sense. So I think that's really provocative because the subject that Craig and I are going to talk about is body and sport in Greek antiquity. And today, and the first thing I want to say is I'm not a classic specialist and I'm not a specialist in sports, but I am an anthropologist who's very much interested in what the body can tell us about the status of the person in society. And so that's my segue into this subject matter. That's something that I'm interested in, and I think about continually. What about the body and the way the body is conceptualized and talked about, and the practices of the body? What do they show us about the status of the person in a particular society? And clearly, from everything we can see about the way the body is used and depicted in Greek culture, in ancient Greek culture, and I would say modern Greek culture, since that's my research interest, is very revealing and can tell us an awful lot about the way in which we bring those ideas forward into contemporary times. So the status of sport in ancient Greece, I'm borrowing some notions from a classic scholar from up the road in Urbana, David Sansone, who describes sport in ancient Greece as a ritual sacrifice of human energy. And this is kind of a provocative statement, but I think it's a really useful one. It helps us understand just that incredibly important role that sport played in ancient Greek society, which has resonances with today, and Craig's going to talk more about that. We see it in not just the status of the body in sport, but in what was at stake, what were people striving for. You see here in this picture, these two wrestlers are competing over that cup. It's a sacrificial vessel. Might this be the origin of the Stanley Cup? Sacrificial vessels were a very common form of prize, so we start to see this intertwining of ritual aspects and sport. In other words, sport is not separate from ritual or religious activity. Sporting events were at their heart religious events. So if sport is a ritual sacrifice of human energy, then what's the status of the athlete? And one of the things we can say about the athlete in ancient Greece is that he, and I'm using the word advisedly, is an embodiment of virtue, arete. Virtue is both a moral concept, moral worth, but also a physical concept. So the physical is meant to reflect the moral. So physical beauty, strength, perfection, both in how you look and how you perform, is meant to reflect on your moral worth. From a ritual standpoint, the athlete is both sacrificial victim. If sport is a ritual sacrifice, that's what's being sacrificed. It's his bodily energy, blood, sweat, and tears, and he's the sacrificer. So he has this interesting dual position. Whoever is the winner, the champion, is worthy of being dedicated to the gods. And so the bodily signs of the ritual status of the athlete that I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to talk about 3. There are other things we could say. But 3 is always a nice number for these kinds of presentations. So the first one is nudity. The second one, anointing with olive oil, which is such a prominent part of Greek athletics. And then decoration with crowns, like laurel leaves, olive leaves, and fillets, these woolen bands. And you can see in this illustration, I think you can see a little bit the red color. This athlete here, and you can tell he's the athlete because he's the nude one, is being decorated with woolen bands and fillets, and we'll talk about the status of that. And I do want to say, if there are any classic scholars in the room, I would love it if you would chime in because I'm about up to here, in terms of my expertise. I don't necessarily have a handle on this, except for the ways in which ancient practices resonate with modern Greek practices. All right, so nudity, clearly the word for nudity, the word for naked in Greek, gymnos, gives us gymnastics, gymnasium. Being naked, is a characteristic of being an athlete. That's The words are interchangeable because of this tight connection. Sansone speculates that this may be connected to initiation rituals, although he's not entirely sure. And so this line drawing taken from a Greek ceramic shows athletes getting nude, anointing themselves with that olive oil, preparing. Nudity then is, a way of setting off, marking yourself as distinctive. Athletes applied olive oil before competition, and then they would scrape it off along with all the sweat and the dust afterwards with this tool called a strigil, and that's what this athlete's doing in this picture. What's interesting is that Greeks also anointed statues of gods. And I hope you can hear when I'm using the word anoint, and I'm using that word deliberately, we have a lot of ritual connotations with this word, right? It came through Christianity, right? Christos means the anointed one. So this carries over. We have a lot of associations with anointing. So if athletes are anointed in a special way, that's marking the body. Something special is happening here. Now the woolen fillets, what's interesting, here on the right is an athlete who's wearing woolen bands, red woolen bands. Over here it's a little harder to see, but these women are decorating sacrificial bulls with woolen fillets. So this is the aspect of the athlete as sacrificial victim. That's what's being highlighted. Being decorated with the same kind of thing, drawing it into the same context. And of course the crowns of laurel and olive, which are such a symbol of victory. And again, Christian thought borrowed those, right? In a lot of different contexts, martyrs as victors being crowned. Again, these crowns of vegetation, they could be olive leaves, they could be laurel leaves. These are also ritually important. Priests and priestesses would wear these crowns in the context of conducting sacrifice. And here you see a victorious athlete offering a burnt sacrifice. And here's the winged goddess. Nike, we would say. I wouldn't say that personally in Greek pronunciation, but that's how we know her winged victory. So again, you see that the athlete is both sacrificial victim and sacrificer, marked out by bodily signs, nudity, anointing, special decorations that signify the athlete's ritual status. And all of this is to serve a notion that the athlete, in both their physical aspect and their moral conduct, are an embodiment of the highest possible virtue that somebody could reach in society. And I think this is a good point at which to let Craig take over. I'm going to bring up his slides.
Thank you.
What did you call yours?
I think it starts with Greek.
Okay. The Greek ideals of athletes?
Perfect. Okay. Since I have no technological, I do have some of my students in here know that I don't mess with PowerPoint. I feel very uncomfortable with it.
You just give me one of these and I'll change.
Dr. Glaros is going to bring me and glide me through the presentation. But I'd like to start this one. I think this was a perfect way to go off of what Angela was just speaking about. How many of you watch sports? You care about sports? Okay, perfect. How many of you saw the, I'm not a Cardinal fan, so I have to tell you, my ex-wife was a Cardinal. I don't want to go there. What's the first thing that happened immediately after the San Francisco Giants won Game 7 of that playoff game? What's one of the first? Obviously, the players got together and started jumping around, but as the cameras came in, what's one of the first things that happened? If you can answer this right, you can come up and do the rest of the presentation.
Started lighting cars on fire.
Okay, not the people out in San Francisco. Right. How about the players themselves? Anyone can think of one of the first thing. I'll give a little. Yes, first name in the back.
I didn't see it, but did they throw their arms up in the air on board?
Sure. Okay, that's true, and that's kind of ritual, but
Throw water on people.
not really. I'm kind of giving a hint. Jack, let me have your hat. Okay. Adorning with crowns. You watch a Super Bowl, you watch an NBA championship. LeBron James did it immediately upon the Miami Heat. The first thing they're doing is putting on that hat that has NBA champion. It has National League pennant winners, right? So I think you can make that extension almost to that crown. Rich, how about boxing? What's one of the first things they do at the end of any championship bout? The belt, right? So that we see this parallel to what Angela was putting up there from the Greeks. And I know, Jack, you were getting very nervous that I was going to take that bull's hat, right? But we see that same kind of a thing taking place, right? That there's a ritualistic right? There's putting on that hat, there's putting on that belt that's going to separate the athlete, the champion especially, from the non-athlete. Okay, so I think that's a good way to start it. How about if we move? I thought that was a nice kind of introduction into what I was going to be speaking about, and it's going to really fit with maybe there's one little PowerPoint thing that takes about 4 minutes that I'm going to beg you to let me show, because if you don't cry, you're not human, I'll argue, and I think it really gets at this idea of moral virtue and what sports is supposed to reflect, not what it necessarily does. Okay, so let's try, Angela, can you click on this one, how bad, as an example of ritual? Perfect. I hope it's going to be Ray Lewis.
It was a young man who, he wanted to make a lot of money, and so he went to this guru, right? He told the guru, I want to be on the same level you are.
All right,
so
I'll tell you what, we could click out of this one. It'll take too long.
I'll meet you tomorrow at the beach.
Can we X out? Yeah. How about this one?
Pump up? Hornbuckle.
Oh, yeah. Let's go pump up. I think this is the one.
Whoops.
Oh, no. That's stealing my thunder, not that pumping
Sorry.
up. All right. Let's not go there. Okay. This is what I want. Thank you. This is perfect. All right, this is perfect. Really pay attention. All right, this just takes a minute. Perfect, Andrew. That's perfect. Angela, you could stop there. I really can't take Tim Tebow. I don't even know why I put that on there, but
because he performs a ritual.
And that was I just can't do it. I just can't do it this late in the afternoon. But you saw Ray Lewis, right, and Drew Brees, perfect examples. If you went to any football field from junior football league right up into the NFL, you're going to see that ritualistic performance, right? Right before kickoff. You're going to see those athletes. You're going to see it during calisthenics, and then right before those refs blow the whistle, the kickoff's going to start. You're seeing a perfect example of ritual. You can see it in baseball from, again, little league all the way up to the major leagues, where the kids are going to come together around the coach. The players are going to come around the manager. They're going to be chanting. They're going to be, pumping their fists. Going to be doing a whole series of things, and that's from whether we're talking about 4-year-olds to 40-year-olds, right? So I thought that was a good depiction of the idea of ritual before a sporting event. Okay, I think the hornbuckle one we don't need to go. If I could go to our next slide, Angela, I hope.
Hello. There.
Okay, all right. Now, I think this is another thing off of Angela's presentation, and it fits with that idea of praise and the champion and signification. And sports is supposed to be imbued with some kind of virtue. So if we don't have to, we can do the Ray Lewis. How about that? Okay, and I'll make a real contrast here, right?
Sometimes God removes you from thinking about games all the time. And there was this kid
torn, Jesus. And he felt the pain in his shoulder. He realized he had bone cancer. And I've been helping him out. Lord rest in peace, Jay. And I've been helping him out as much as I could. And last week, his mother called me and said, Jay is really ill. Jay is really going through it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get over it as soon as this game is over, And I got the phone call yesterday morning, and Jay didn't make it. A 17-year-old kid. So sometimes that's why you got to sum up games sometimes and say how important is life really? Because it's a 17-year-old kid that was just waiting for me to come speak to him. But a game pulled me away from that.
All right, that's perfect, Angela. If we can stop that, right? 17-year-old kid died, but the game took me away from that. If we could just go down to the next, that's...
Jim Rome?
No, that won't. Okay, let me make the contrast. All right, let me do this. Well, here's Ray Lewis, and this is a contemporary picture of him. And if you know anything about Ray Lewis and his biography, he's become one of 17-year NFL. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame, one of the most famous linebackers, certainly of this generation in the history of the NFL. But there's been a real conscious attempt to reconstruct his biography. Right now, he's one of the most sought-after motivational speakers. I mean, you can't help but be riveting when the charisma that he just evokes, the way he plays on the field. But the other side, the reason for having to reconstruct and imbue this moral virtue, look what he said, right? That we need to start thinking about the worth of, I couldn't be there for a 17-year-old kid with whom I've formed a bond, because I had to take part in an NFL game. And the clip I wanted to show, and it takes about 2 minutes, I got some other things I want to show, is Diane Sawyer doing the report. Many of you may have forgotten by now, at the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Ray Lewis was charged as an accessory to a murder, right? That he at the very least, without question, he witnessed the murder and did nothing to stop it, okay? And he pled out to a lesser charge. And that is completely deconstructed. You never hear that as part of his biography now, right? He's found God. He's become a motivational speaker. He's done all the things a PR firm would love, right, to clean up his act with very positive results, right? So I took that clip specifically to show this idea of moral virtue, but reconstructing the athlete's profile, right, from potentially convicted murderer to sought-after public speaker and motivational person. Can we do this one? Yeah, and then I'll just talk that one. Okay. This is only like a minute. This is perfect.
I want to talk to you about what Livestrong Day means to me. October 2nd is the day I was diagnosed with cancer and thrown into the fight of my life. I made it through okay, but today, 15 years later, cancer is the world's leading cause of death. Too many people around the world are fighting for their lives right this minute without the resources, treatment, and support they need. We have to change that. Today, Livestrong Day is a challenge, a global day of action where we stand together and declare that we won't quit and we won't retreat from the fight against cancer. It's a day when we wear yellow to show the strength of our community and to encourage others to join us in the fight. Show your support. Wear yellow with me on October 2nd. Join the fight at livestrong.org/livestrongday.
Lance Armstrong has raised billions of dollars for the fight against cancer. I took this clip perfectly. Why would I take that one in light of the last week? Moral virtue. You couldn't. One of the most heroic 7-time Tour de France champion, one of the most recognized athletes in the world. Why would I put him up there for moral virtue? Anybody read the paper in the last week? Adam? Excuse me?
His medals.
Completely stripped of all his medals. He's been fighting the USADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency, who's alleged that he's taken part in all kinds of using banned substances, procedures that would enhance his performance. He's denied, spent millions of dollars fighting the case. And about 3 weeks ago, he just said, I'm going to stop fighting. And now a whole series of his teammates have come forward and said they were complicit. He definitely doped. He asked them to dope with him, and he asked them to hide what he did. The moral virtue and then the fall of the athlete, right? I took Ray Lewis and Lance Armstrong as a perfect example. On one hand, embodying virtue, and on the other hand, the demise, right? This one, we don't need to clip on, right? If you know, more NCAA Division I victories than anyone until about a year ago, right? And then some of those victories were stripped, and then one person already put away, and 2 people who still await trial for essentially helping to, at least institutionally, sanction the rape of boys, right? So, you know, one of the most respected, iconic sports figures, Virtue, gave millions of dollars. The Penn State Library is named after Joe Paterno, right? The height, again, of moral virtue, always speaking about the positive role of education in athletics, and his whole image is now tarnished. Who's going to associate the word virtue with Joe Paterno, rightly or wrongly, in light of his behavior and the potential still to be found in the courts, right, of the complicity in allowing, using Penn State as an institution where this kind of behavior could be sanctioned, could be taking place, right, and fostered. Perfect. Can we go to the next slide?
Lance Armstrong's an even more apt example, because it was the status of his body that wrecked his virtue, because his body was found to be full of chemicals that he'd put there.
Perfect point. Can we just go to that clip, the Giants? There's again with the idea of crowning and being recognized.
Entering Super Bowl 42.
You can go, Angela, we can go really far, I think. And we just want to see where he gets the, you're good, you're good, you're good. I just want to see him getting off the field. I think we're almost there, you're almost there. Okay, there you go, right there. Good. Can you start? Right? There's the hat. Already has it. The game isn't even seconds old. Already had his NFL Super Bowl champions on. There, Michael Strahan.
Pulled off the upset, 17-14, and let the celebration begin.
The hat already on. There you go, right? Holding the medal, as it were, right? Like the crowning.
Eli to his critics, how you like me now?
Perfect. That's good, Angela, right there. Perfect. Okay. And then we don't need to show that one. That was just the one I quizzed you on that you did poorly on, not knowing that the Giants put on their hats immediately. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay. I'm begging you. You gotta. If you can spare me 4 minutes, it's worth it. I just hope you have a handkerchief. That's all I'll tell you. Angela, they're not walking out, so we're gonna do it.
Imagine being a teenage girl, thinking about the day you'll get your driver's license, going to see movies with your friends, playing sports you love. Now imagine that all changes because of a degenerative and untreatable disease. That is exactly what happened to a young woman I met recently, but thanks to one
just think of the word virtue in this.
She's back to doing what she loves. 16-year-old Sammy Stoner loves running with her dog, Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe.
But Sammy and Chloe aren't any ordinary
Thank you,
running
Angela.
partners. Chloe is Sammy's guide dog. Sammy, a high school cross-country athlete, is blind.
How long have you been running? I've been running since I was in 8th grade, way before my vision started going bad.
For months, she and her family didn't know what was causing the decline.
It was a pretty tough time. I think it was tough on Sammy. It was definitely tough on us.
She was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, an inherited condition that causes central vision loss and renders its sufferers legally blind. Losing her sight has been so trying for someone so young.
There was one thing that you could see just one more time and have a good look at one more time. What would that be?
Probably my family's faces. It's kind of tough not being able to see their face or my face. It's kind of weird not knowing what you look like.
In a bigger depiction of this for E60 for ESPN, she said she's never really seen herself in a mirror.
Because, I mean, that's something every teenager looks forward to.
Running was still an option.
If you love something enough, then you'll find a way to do it, even if you do have struggles with it.
And Sammy doesn't just run, she runs cross-country through the woods for miles on end.
Run.
That's where Chloe came in. Since Sammy got her last summer, they've been training non-stop, learning to move together and build up Chloe's endurance. It's hard enough to get a person to be dedicated enough to run. I can't imagine what it would require of a puppy, nonetheless.
It's been a huge learning experience, but she really is doing a great job.
The state initially wouldn't let Sammy and Chloe run on the team.
Easy.
But the school fought for her and won.
We devised a plan where she could possibly run in a competitive situation in a sanctioned event.
Meanwhile, Chloe was fitting right in on the team. Watch as she takes part in this pre-race ritual.
Ritual, right?
We had 48 runners on the team, and then came Chloe, so we're a family of 49 runners.
Come here, Chloe.
And though she is all work on the course, when the harness does come off,
She changes, her demeanor changes.
she is one playful pup.
You're irresistible.
Finally, after all of their hard work, the time came for Sammy and Chloe to run their race.
First time she ran with Chloe, everybody was cheering, "Oh my God!" That day, Sammy ran her personal best. That's the best she's ever run.
And in the end, this inspiring teen and her pup achieved their goal and crossed the finish line together.
She just faces every day with the most positive attitude we could ever hope.
I'm really happy we can be an inspiration to people because you really can do anything.
That's
And Sammy is
that's
just
good,
the happiest
Angela.
teenager I've ever met. Smile ear to ear.
I'm sorry, I'm still choking. I'm like a ridiculously sensitive male. I hate it. When you watch the extended version of this, my oldest daughter is a graduate student, came in and goes, "Dad, what the hell is the matter?" I was like sobbing where I just couldn't even get. If you see, this is what I wanted to put in for virtue. When they do a more focused interview with the parents, and something that this is more like a feel-good story, the parents share with them their daughter never finished anything other than last in every race that she ran in high school. And you see them saying that, and they're starting to like break down, but you can feel and see the pride that they have in their daughter, as the coach saying, running her personal best. And to me, that depicts more the virtue that's in sports, right? Where the competition so often is from within, right? To see how far. Here's a woman that's legally blind who is able to use that dog and strive each time out to do better and better to where she can achieve a personal best, but yet finish last, right? And I think that's an interesting kind of dichotomy. But to me, it captures the real virtue in sports, the competition in itself with yourself. Cool, thank you. I'm glad you guys didn't cry. All right, well, virtue in sports, virtue. Let's go to this one. This is a good one.
Tiger Woods, the most famous golfer in the world.
And we're buffering.
One of the most famous people in the world. One car accident, here's what we know about it. Happened here in Windermere,
And you can
Florida.
tell this is an old clip, right? And I did it on purpose.
He hit a tree. He was semi-conscious or unconscious for a number of minutes. His wife used a golf club to bash in the back window to rescue him. So those are the things we do know, but there's an awful lot we don't know. And we interviewed the chief of police here in Windermere, Florida, to get his take on what happened.
He was on the ground, semi-unconscious, and had lacerations to his upper and lower lip. So our first response was to render first aid to him.
We certainly don't know what happened here. The hospital says it was a minor injury. The injuries were just seen on his mouth. I mean, why do you think he was semi-conscious or unconscious?
You know, I don't know. The officers over there said he was semi-unconscious in and out of it for several minutes. He did have blood coming out of his mouth. But the officers also said it did not look life-threatening, his injuries.
The car was drivable, so why did his wife have to bash it in with a golf club?
From my understanding, she explained to my officers that the doors were locked and she could not gain entry. So
Yeah,
she used
okay.
the golf club to smash the window out to gain entry down off the door.
Did she have a golf club with her at the time?
I don't know where the golf club came from.
I mean, she
Carries a 9-iron. Everyone does.
It sounds like that's probably what you do.
I mean, this sounds, you know, I certainly don't want to put words in your mouth, but does this sound a little unusual and suspicious, this case?
It sounds unusual, but like I said, we're not an investigating agency, so, you know, we were first responders on our mutual aid to help him out. And we didn't know it was Tiger Woods, we just knew that there was a male down.
There's certainly still a lot more investigating to do. In charge of the investigation now is the Florida Highway Patrol, because this happened in an unincorporated part of Orange County, Florida, not actually within the town limits of Windermere.
That's fine. That's fine, Angela.
911 call.
And the reason, I think you can guess the reason I took this one, the three of the most recognized athletes in the world, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, and Tiger Woods. And I couldn't find I couldn't find this image, but I wanted to get, it's a famous Christmas card of Tiger Woods, his then now ex-wife, their two children, and I can't remember if it's one or two golden retrievers. And it's like an idyllic, you couldn't get a better Christmas card, perfect smiles, idyllic family, and then I just wanted to juxtapose it with the a golf club going through the back window, right? Kind of the fall from grace, right? The putting athletes up on a pedestal, almost godlike, right? And then finding out that sometimes the emperor is, has no clothes, right? I'm not going to. This is the Malice in the Palace. A riot breaks out. I don't want to take up a lot of time. The first one is, it only runs about a minute or two. Can I just show it real quick? It's black and white, which I like. I don't know if you remember black and white. Some of you out there.
It was no big thing for the game. We played Houston.
The Lakers was a hell of a team to play against. They had the physical play. They had the speed. There was a lot of lip service that was going on. I remember having lip service with Kermit.
The game was uneventful. I remember the second half or something, the ball goes up.
This will be real quick. I promise we'll stop.
Rebounded.
And I think it was me, Kevin Cooter, and Kareem went for a rebound.
Ball bounced along, and Houston was running on a fast break.
We're coming down on a fast break. John Lucas has the ball. Rudy's filling one lane. I'm filling the other.
I fouled Kevin trying to get in front of him. I grabbed his hip and tried to propel myself in front of him to catch up to the guys that were going down the court.
Which wasn't out of the ordinary. We've all done it. I've done it 1,000 times.
Well, he elbows me with his left elbow in the face.
But the elbow's not to hurt. It's to, man, get off.
So when he turned around, I thought he was going to say, he was sorry, but he turned around and hit me in my face again. Then I said, well, that's not a mistake. So then we started swinging on each other.
The instinct for any player, when you see an incident like that, is you grab
Just watch. I promise it's like another 30 seconds.
To stop the fight. So that's what I did.
And he pushes Kermit away. Now, Rudy T, of course, who's the captain of the Rockets, was filling one lane. He's running towards Jabbar and Kevin to calm Kevin down.
Now you got to watch right
Kermit,
here.
Who's backing up, looks over his shoulder.
He turned and saw Rudy running toward him. And Base's instinct was just to turn and swing.
He stopped, plants, and I saw the punch coming, and Rudy was running and saw the punch coming also and threw his hands up to protect it, and of course the punch comes over it.
You can stop it right there. I can't.
I didn't see it.
If you don't, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar compares it to here a grapefruit just being completely smashed. And Rudy Tomjanovich, his career was never broke so many. He had to have major plastic surgeries. It effectively ended his career. If you saw his head whiplash, right? It hit, and this is wooden gym floors, and not like today where they're cushioned and stuff. And again, the idea of heroism and virtue, and how does that square with an incident like that, right? I'll explain at the end why I keep doing this. I think we only have one more. Oh, the athletic body. Let's do Chris. No, let's do Mr. Olympia. Let's do that. Because I think this fits with.
Bad. Been chopping trees.
No, that won't do it. I got the wrong one there. All right, let's do Amanda Baird. We'll do her. Real quick. Yeah, this will be good. Does everyone know who Amanda Baird is? She broke on Olympic swimmer, really came to notoriety, I believe, in the '96 Olympics. 14-year-old, amazing gold medal winner. Well, why do you have these up there? Okay, it always, all right, the body as temple. But to me, in a sociology class, it always raises the issue, and I really enjoyed, I'm always amazed by some of the opinions women have of, is she being women athletes taken seriously for their athletic prowess, or is it that they're using their athletic prowess to peddle themselves and market themselves in terms of potential careers as models, etc.? Amanda Baird raised some notoriety here because she was one of the first swimmers to accept a Playboy centerfold and adamantly said that she believed that she was being a positive role model for young women. She was proud of her body and had no problem whatsoever. She understood why people could criticize her, but nonetheless, she did it. I think I must have messed up my files because I had one of like male bodybuilders. Any of you have ever seen a bodybuilding competition? What do the guys have? Oil, right? They literally oil their body, so I thought it would have been a perfect thing. Somehow I got Muhammad Ali in an oil clip. I don't know how I messed that one up, so I apologize for my lack of technological sophistication. All right, let's go to I think I have one more. Mind and body, okay? And, you know, we always hear this thing about I promise I'll bring this to a conclusion here. We hear about this idea of the mind and body and the Greeks thinking these things should be on the same level. And again, I defer to you people have forgotten more than I may know about Greek or the Greeks or Greek ideas of sports. But many Greek philosophers were actually critical of athletic figures in that they said they overdid the cultivation of their bodies and did not do enough to be cultivating their minds. So I thought a perfect example here, and we don't have to show the clip, of maybe the Greek ideal was Andrew Luck, right? Who stayed in school got his degree at Stanford, was someone being thought about for a Rhodes Scholarship, received numerous awards, academic, all-American, right? Kind of fitting the ideal of that harmony between mind and body, right? Now, obviously, this is the exception, especially at the Division I sports level, but it kind of embodies that ideal of mind and body going hand in hand. I think I may have one more. Oh, and then the final thing is, and this was definitely true of the Olympic Games in ancient Greece, the athletes were supposed to reflect positively on the particular city-states that they represented, right? And I think we find a parallel certainly in modern day Olympics, so that I just took these still shots. There's no YouTube. I think you all know that's Brandi Chastain, and that's not the typical picture that we see. The typical picture is usually Brandi Chastain doing what? Right, pulling her shirt off and revealing her Nike sports bra, and that's the iconic picture. But to me, the more important was this is after the U.S. women and who helped bring women's soccer right to the forefront after a victory running around with the American flag. And we see this in almost any athlete who's victorious in the Olympics, grabbing that flag, running the track, right, getting up on the pedestal, being crowned with the medal, right? And then I thought another good iconic picture was the Dream Team with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Larry Bird, Clyde Drexler. You see them adorning themselves. Now, this is interesting, though, from a sociological point of view, because they're draping themselves in the American flag also to hide the logo of Adidas, because Michael Jordan is a Nike sponsor, right? And that was how he got the rest of the team to agree to put the flag around them, right? So that it wasn't just to evoke nationalism, it was so that he kept on the good side of Nike, right, as their principal spokesperson. Do I have one more? Okay, I just wanted to conclude this way, and I appreciate it. Can I get a little hand for Angela, because I couldn't have done that. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I just wanted to conclude this way. The reason I kept doing kind of these parallels is I had a student one time in my sociology of sport class go, Dr. Eckert, do you ever talk about anything positive about sports? And it really struck me. The question has always been with me, and I had to answer. I go, I feel like we take the positive for granted. We take that idea of virtue. We take of the idea of sports building character. We take those kinds of things for granted, and we don't, I think, critically assess but isn't there a downside to some of this, right? So I think any time I give a talk about sports, I come off as if I'm very much, I think there's so many positive things about sports, but I think it's always important to look at that contrast between that ideal of what we think sports are about versus the reality that we see when we subject sports to a sociological lens, right? We look at it a little bit more critically. So I wanted to thank Angela very much, and I really want to thank my former student, Chris Duncan, for putting these slides. But I am changing his grade. That Muhammad Ali slide got in there, I'm going to change the grade.